Hi, so I'm going to keep reading you your bedtime story. We're reading Palace Wagon Family, the true story of the Donner Party, or the Donner Reed Party, as it was called. All right, so remember they were traveling across the plains and they're running into lots of members of the Sioux tribe. All right. This has been happy so far, Virginia laughed and added. I don't think any girl ever had a happier birthday than I did. We'll make your country's birthday just as happy as yours, declared James Reed. She's growing up, too. Already the British have given up their claims to Oregon. Texas became a state last year, and this year we may add a few more. If California rebels against Mexican rule, she is bound to join us in time. When we get there, we may find we haven't emigrated to a foreign country after all. This was a new thought for Virginia, a country growing up like a little girl. She had heard a lot about the president's policy of expansion. Now she was beginning to see how she and all these other people who were emigrating to Oregon and California had a part in it. We're bringing America right along with us, the men were telling each other. Never had Virginia felt so much like celebrating as on this 4th of July. It came in with a bang on Saturday morning as all the men in the company fired their guns in a salute to the birthday of American independence. Virginia held her ears. When the thunderous noise had died down a little, she turned to Leanna Donner, standing beside her, and said, If there are any Indians still about, that ought to scare them off. Weren't you scared when they tried to buy you? Leanna asked. Not much, she replied. It was fun. But hurry, Captain Boggs is lining us up, 2 by 2, for a parade around the wagon corral and back into the grove where we're going to have our picnic. You're my partner, cried Milt, almost swooping Virginia off her feet. Behind them, the younger children were beating on tin pans with sticks and making a great racket. This is because they didn't really have fireworks probably back then. Nowadays, we have lots of fireworks that make lots of noise to celebrate the 4th of July. Behind them, the younger children were beating on tin pans with sticks and making a great racket. Milt took out his mouth organ. Recognizing the tune he was playing, some of the soldiers began to sing. The Mexicans have cut up high, and we have let them do it, but now they've got our dander up, and they are going to rue it. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. It was the same old chorus, but the new verses were to fit a new war that seemed to be no great threat to the westward movement of the wagon trains. So they're talking about the Mexican-American War. They had camped on Beaver Creek, within sight of the beautiful natural bridge. Below it in the picnic grove, the emigrants were waiting to hear the latest news from California. Kit Carson and Fremont have joined forces with the revolutionaries under a new flag made out of a woman's petticoat, one of the company on their way east reported. They call it the bear flag. It's like behind me, the flag of California that's on our quilt. So there was a war between Mexico and the United States, and Mexico lost the war, and they lost California. And as part of the treaty at the end of the war that was signed, gave up California. And so California was kind of up for grabs. And so these people came along and they said, California is going to be its own country. And they made a flag with a bear on it, and they called it the Bear Flag Republic. And then the United States came along and said, slow down there, just a minute. You're not going to be your own country. You're going to be part of the United States. Like, hang on there, Missy. California's not going to be its own country. It's going to be part of our country, right? So they're going to California, but they don't know if California is going to be its own country or it's going to be part of the United States. It's going to be part of Mexico. Hooray for the new republic! Down with Mexico! Several voices shouted. Virginia did not join them. She was thinking of Captain Sutter and his new Helvetia, which had been a Mexican land grant. Was it American now? Or was it part of the Bear Flag Republic? It was hard to understand exactly what was going on in California. I highlighted that in the book because that's really true. People didn't know. It was an unknown situation. What's going to happen with California? Will it be its own country? Will it be part of the United States? Previously, Fremont had raised the American flag on a mountain peak near Monterey, just down the road from us, but it had been hauled down by the order of the Mexicans. They had also forbidden emigration, which no one spoke of that. Here on the plains with the Laramie Mountains to the south, the hopeful emigrants declared themselves Americans still. A prayer for their safe arrival in California was said by the same minister who had conducted the funeral service for Grandma Keyes back on the Big Blue. It was a solemn moment. Afterwards, Captain Boggs read the Declaration of Independence, and there were more speeches by Russell, Thornton, and others of importance in the company. Meantime, the women spread out a feast under the trees, and Mr. Reed brought out his jug of brandy. Glasses were filled with lemonade for the children, and everyone faced towards the east and drank a toast exactly at noon. I'll have to tell Cousin Mary about this, Virginia thought. The others were all singing Old Lang Syne. After a moment, Virginia joined them. They sang more verses of Yankee Doodle and the Star-Spangled Banner. My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean was a favorite with the children, and someone suggested that they sing Home Sweet Home. We want no homesickness here, George Donner cried. What's the other song about California we were singing back on the trail? Let's have it again. A new verse was introduced. The alkali desert is burning and bare. Don't let your soul shrink from the death that lies there. Dear old Illinois, let us go back to you, says Reed. You will go by yourselves if you do. This last line was added by his teamsters to tease Mr. Reed, who was growing impatient with the delay. So they stop and spend a whole day just messing around celebrating the 4th of July. And really what they should be doing is hurrying to get to California because it's going to start snowing in the winter and they're going to get stuck in the mountains. They still have to cross the Rocky Mountains and the Sierra Nevada Mountains. So Mr. Reed is like, chop, chop, we've got to hurry. Let's keep moving. And everybody is saying, let's just celebrate 4th of July. Let's hang out and have a picnic. Hiram Miller had gone on ahead, turning over the little black book of their travels. Mr. Reed agreed with him that the Reed Donner party should be making better time. One day, he said, was enough to take for celebrating. Most of the company wanted to rest and enjoy themselves on Sunday, too. The oxen have to be ready for a long, hard drive across the desert, the Donner brothers argued, and so it was agreed. On Monday, the 6th of July, Mr. Reed wrote in the little black book, we left camp much rested, and our oxen moved off in fine style, and we went 16 miles. So, if they left on the 6th of July, that means they celebrated the 4th of July on the 4th and the 5th. If they would have not done that, they wouldn't have gotten trapped in the mountains. So, if they would have just spent one day celebrating the 4th of July, they probably would have all survived. So it's kind of, as we're reading, they keep wasting time, and it means that they're going to get to the mountains when the snow starts. Again, they were in the valley of the North Platte, where buffalo hunting was good, and there was plenty of water and grass for the cattle. Following the river for 3 more days, they finally crossed it and reached Independence Rock on Saturday, just a week after they had celebrated Independence Day. Look, look, the children cried, tumbling out of the wagons. Did you ever see such a big rock? It's as big as a house, bigger even. Virginia joined Patty and her little brothers to gaze in wonder at the great rock. It looked almost purple against the sunset sky. Many names were written on it, among them the name of Lansford Hastings. This is the Register of the Desert, Mr. Reed explained, as he added his own name to the list. Camp was made just below the rock, and Sunday services were held beside it. Afterwards, Virginia seated herself in the shadow of the massive boulder to recopy the letter she had started to her cousin. She asked her father how to spell some of the hard words, but it still didn't look right. Virginia has the worst spelling of any person that ever lived. When you actually read her letters, you can barely read them. And this is in her spelling, and it's going to be hard to read. So, this is the letter she wrote back to her cousin. Independence Rock, July 12th. July is spelled Julyth. Julyth. July 12th, 1846. My dear cousin, I take this opportunity to write to you to let you know that I am well at present, and I hope that you are well. We have all had good health. We came to the Blue. The water was so high that we had to stay there 4 days. In the meantime, Grandma died. She became speechless the day before she died. We buried her very decent. We made a neat coffin and had her name cut on it, and the date, and the year, very nice, and at the head of the grave was a tree, and we cut some letters on it. The young men sanded, I think she means sanded it all over. The young men sanded it all over and put flowers on it. We miss her very much. Every time we come into the wagon, we look at the bed for her. We have come through several tribes of Indians, the Kaw Indians and the Sioux and the Shawnees. At the Kaw village, Pa counted 250 Indians. We didn't see Indians from the time we left the Kaw village till we came to Fort Laramie, and the Kaw Indians were going to war with the Crows. We have to pass through their fighting ground. The Sioux Indians are the prettiest dressed Indians that there are. Pa goes buffalo hunting almost every day and kills 2 or 3 buffalo every day. Pa shot an elk, and some of our companions saw a grizzly bear. We have the thermometer at 102 degrees average for the last 6 days. We celebrated the 4th of July on the Platte River at Beaver Creek. Creek is spelled Crick. Crick. She has the worst spelling. Several of the gentlemen in Springfield gave Pa a bottle of liquor. Liquor is spelled Licker, like liquor. And said it shouldn't be opened until the 4th day of July, and Pa was to look at the east and drink it, and that they were to look at the west and drink it at 12 o'clock. Pa treated the company, and we all had some lemonade. Ma and Pa are well and send their best love to you all. I send my best love to you all. Folding the double page of thin blue paper in a neat square, Virginia intended to add a little more when there was an opportunity to send it. Most of the wagons were going west, not east. So if you wanted to send a letter back to your family, you had to wait until you saw somebody that was heading to the east coast of the United States. And most people were going west to Oregon and California. And so it would be very rare that you would run into somebody that was, and then they would take your mail and they'd drop it off in the nearest city until it finally got sent to you. All right. Hope you enjoyed that bedtime story. And I'm going to have nightmares about Virginia's spelling. I will talk to you later.